Hi everyone, it's another sunny day and it's actually the last official day of summer, and what a wonderful, beautiful day it is. I thought today what I'd do was something very simple but important and just do some basic posture awareness exercises. These are nothing difficult, nothing physically exhausting, but it's going to hopefully make you very aware of how you hold yourself, which is essential for everything we do on the ice because posture comes first. There are so many things that are important, but until you get the posture, none of the rest of it on the ice is going to work particularly well. Okay, so posture is everything. And a lot of people actually really struggle with it. So, first things first, I often on my videos will say ribs in, hips under. So what I actually mean by that is people have a tendency to stand perhaps with a little bit of swayed back, okay? Particularly on the ice when they don't want to fall backwards, they sort of push their pelvis back and lean forward. That's fundamentally incorrect. So what we have to do is engage our core. So that means pushing our hips underneath us so the pelvis comes forward. So if you put your hands on your hip bones, you can tuck under, you can feel them lift up. Something that my pupils are used to me saying is imagine having your headlights on. So I like to pretend that they've got headlights on their hip bones, okay, glaring forward, and we want those headlights to go into full beam and not be dipped. So at the moment, when my hips are back, my headlights are pointing down. So if you just bring your fingers up like that, okay, my headlights are down. If I tuck under, my headlights go from being dipped to on, and my hip bones are illuminating the space in front of me. I just have to show you this. Don't know if you can see her. There is my puppy panting in the background, looking gorgeous. Okay, and sunbathing. So, pelvis is tucked forward. The other thing we have to do is people sometimes stick this out, their ribs, their chest. So we've got to push that back. Oh, and there goes the pup. Okay, so the pelvis tucks under and the ribs tuck in. So we create a waistband, or almost like a belt or a corset around our waist, and we have firm, strong abs, okay, and the back's engaged and the glutes are engaged. I'm then rotating out from my hip flexors and supporting my back using the muscles in my bum, and that's a basic skating standing posture. So pelvis forward, ribs in, hips turned out, glutes strong, core strong, and I'm solid. And if you can see there, I've got a pretty straight back, not this. There. Okay. If you are trying to familiarise yourself with that position, I have done this before, you can actually do some sort of standing cat and camels where you arch and pull up, so you can find, and if you do it slowly, you can really sense the tiny minuscule movements that create that good posture. Okay, and you can find that and then sit there, close your eyes and feel it and learn what that posture feels like, because that's what you're trying to do every time you push. When we are on the ice, we have to maintain that strength as we bend, and this is where ballet can come into a lot of use if you think of things like pliés in ballet, because when a ballerina or a ballet dancer pliés, they also have a very similar upright posture here, and they bend bend through, I like to call it the lift shaft, okay, where you're stuck in a lift shaft, you can't lean forward, it's a very tight lift shaft because your butt's going to be on the wall, so you have to bend and support that strong back and keep it still and tall. And that's exactly what we're doing. When we're going, you can see I tilted forward there, that's incorrect, and that's what a lot of people do when they go to push, okay, but instead we bend through the lift shaft and then can strike off for our skating push. So pelvis tuck forward, ribs in, so hips under, ribs in, strong core, shoulders back but not hyperextended, because that's when we start flaring. The ribs are there, soft and back, the arms should be in front of us. It's like 10 to 2 on a clock face, so there's 12 o'clock, 5 to 1, 10 to 2. They're rounded, we can see our fingers wiggle in our peripheral vision, okay, so without having to turn and take a sneaky peek. Something else my lower level pupils will hear me saying quite a lot. So we've got our position, elbows at 10, arms at 10 to 2, ribs in, hips under, bends through the lift shaft, rotating out and continuing that rotation, holding it by supporting through the bum and then we can roll the foot, and you can see that we then transfer over. So the body goes with the front foot and stays over it. Got a plane in the background. So you don't want to be left behind because you're going to start to arch. Okay, but as you bend, the body follows the supporting foot. Okay? And as I said, pliés in ballet to practice that bending without this happening. Okay, so we bend soft. You can even try a full plié. Hold in there without resting. So you don't want to sink in like a sumo. You sit there and pull up and hold it until the rotation in the hips, the glutes engage. I took my heels off too early there. Technically with a ballet plié you should hold it as long as you can and then take the heels off. And you only take them off in first position if you're out in second. Just a bit like a spread eagle, you just keep them on the floor. But again, you're bending through our lift shaft. Okay? Backward skating. We still have this same basic position here. Okay? Obviously the weight's transferring behind us, but again, we're not doing this. People get scared when they go backwards because they worry about falling over and going back, and obviously that's natural if you want to protect your head. Okay, but when you start out, we help you with that. The correct way to fall, in theory. But you have to learn to entrust yourself and entrust your core strength. As you transfer your weight, it stays over the skating foot. It's not here. I'm not giving into the arch in the back. I'm holding and extending. But as I bend before that push and my toes start to turn in ready to push, I'm again going through the lift shaft with the same core engagement. The arm's still in that same 10 to 2 and I'm still following it. So nothing's actually changed. It's just other than going backwards. Okay? When you're going to your second part of your crossover, again, you bend through the lift shaft and transfer with your foot. There is always going to be a slight bend in the lower back, but it's not continued through to the chest. It's just that little happy back position. I'm still engaged even when I'm in my full pushing position. My ribs are still in. I'm not doing this. I'm there. The arch in the lower back is actually coming from the lift in the glute to get the leg up. I'm not doing this. It's there, shoulder in front, strong core, and as I lift the leg, keeping the turnout, and remember I'm rotating and using my 45 degrees when I push. So 0, 90 to the 45, staying with the supporting foot, turning out, holding it, okay, and the same 0, 90, kind of pointing, turn the top out, 45. Things you can do if you're struggling a bit with the posture is use a support, okay, and you can practice bending and holding them, so just some little demi bends there, keep maintaining that. You can also practice rising so that we're getting learning to extend the feet without caving into this as well. There are obviously times in skating when we do arch our back, but they tend to be more complicated things. For your basics and for your good quality skating at those higher levels as well, the core is so important. And actually the core is key, as I said, to everything. If you're jumping, you can't jump like that. You've got to jump through, bend, roll onto toes through the lift shaft. We're not going to launch ourselves forward because in the air, when you're in that cross position, it's exactly the same. Ribs in, hips under, squeezed, corset on, slightly over your rotational side. So if you rotate to your left, you'll be slightly over the right side. That's what I mean by that, but you'll know that if you're there. But again, you're holding that position over to the left side if you rotate to the right. Okay, but again, strong core. This is where things like releve in ballet can help, these rises, because that's like pushing through the jump. And can you see if you sway back, it's going to make a terrible jump and a poor quality, so you can practice that rise, squeezing in, do it in the turnout. Not that's particularly relevant to jumping, but good. And it's just holding the core. There are things you can do as well, other things you can do to explore it. You can do little cat and camel or cat and cow to explore that range of motion in your back. And then if you do it in front of a mirror, or like I'm doing it in front of the phone, you can actually use that to see when you're at the straight back and feel again what that feels like in the core. So I can actually feel that tuck in there. You can even do an extended version there. Hold it so that you try to line up the back, you can't really see it, but the back leg. And that gives you that idea of the elongation and again that core engage. There are loads and loads of core strength videos out there on everything from really basic exercises to some quite intense core work. The puppy's going to walk across again. That I've put on there, so you can go and have a look back. There's all the basic skating positions, and there's things with this, which is a balance board. And again, you can really explore your posture here just by standing on one foot. I haven't got a very even ground, but there, and holding it. And this really is going to help you, because once you start to arch, you can really feel the board move. So you get really central, everything in one alignment and tucked, that can really hold yourself strong. And then you can start to play with it. See, when you lift back, you have to be careful not to arch. Hold strong. A little bit of an arch where you're lifting from the leg but not flaring your ribs. On the, you can even try braving when you're quite confident, because it's quite difficult. Braving the releve on the board, much harder. When you're not on the board, things like lifting the leg up but maintaining that position. You can go to releve, holding it, and we can do like lifts, piqués or battements, that kind of thing. These are ballet terms, but they are also positions that we might use to add drama or interest to our skating. And again, can you see that all this is done with core engagement? Okay, so basically just using this all the time. Even when you're walking around, train yourself. Walk to the shops with your ribs in, hips under, shoulders back but not hyperextended, and practice just moving with a good posture. Because the more you do it, the more it becomes second nature, and the more you've built your muscle memory, and then it's going to be a whole lot easier to put it back on the ice to get your really beautiful positions, no matter what you're doing. So that was my posture awareness thing. Very simple, but very, very important, fundamental to skating. All right, everyone, bye-bye. Enjoy the beautiful weather.